Hey, greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Greetings, brother. Russell Combs, how you doing tonight?
Good, brother. How are you?
Good, good. Enjoying life, living life, and loving life.
Went to that board meeting tonight. Was rather interesting.
Did ya? Did ya?
Uh,
Tell us about it.
Yeah, I asked them which one of them at the board there deemed that residency necessary, and the city attorney told me that to answer that question. Yeah, it was rather interesting there this evening.
Yeah, yeah. See, those are the kind of questions I'm going to get ready to start asking. I'm coming up on this thing with the estate recovery. At the same time, I'm having the issue with the Postal Service, so it's kind of working out. I'm going to have to notice them anyway when I transfer the title, and now they're getting involved up front by denying me international mail services, even though I've got an international mail account, by making their own legal determination of where I'm sending it is domestic. I'm sorry, I'm international. Right. It is international mail to me. So.
Well, there was another tragic that happened. You remember that company that I was working for there for a little bit when I first come down this way, and then they fired me because I spoke the truth, right? It wasn't due to anything else. Well, that guy had an accident over the weekend, and somebody's dead now, so the owner of that company is sitting in jail on second-degree manslaughter.
Oh, my.
Yeah, karma.
Trying to give him some wiseness, huh?
Karma is a bitch. I actually feel bad for this cat, man. Because I feel he's a good-hearted dude, but holy shit, man. Karma's a bitch.
Yeah, I would too, but that's just it. Let the fools be fooled. You made an attempt, a good earnest attempt, and he didn't want to deal with it and got scared. That's what people like to do.
A 16-year-old boy lost his life.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button for me real quick. If you're on Hecklebus, get over to El Perro, and if you're on El Perro, get over to Hecklebus. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. There are a couple PayPal links down in the bottom, so feel free to share some love. And I do want to send some appreciation out to a couple folks that did send some donations here recently, so thank you for that. And then folks on if you're on Facebook, if you want to get in the chat and get up on the panel, you have to come over to one of the YouTube channels. Other than that, if you remember, we left off with the financial situation as it relates to the National Trust Fund and everything, and community and national service and all that. Tonight, we're going to talk about what is payment and what is payment in kind, and go from there. And let's see here. Make sure I'm on the right thing here. Okay. Come on, baby. Okay. This here is Investopedia again. One of the reliable sources when it comes to the actual law and stuff outside of the legal system itself and more in the financial system. And they use the terms according to that financial system, the commercial terms, commercial and trust terms, contract and trust terms. And here it tells us, what is a payment? Payment is the transfer of money, goods, or services. And remember what we talked about with credit cards. A credit card is a credit device that is used to obtain goods, money, goods, labor, or services. So we see that payment is the transfer. of credit. Okay? Let me explain that again. A credit card is a card, plate, or other credit device used to obtain money, goods, or services. So the payment is the transfer of those money, goods, or services in exchange for goods and services in acceptable proportions that have been previously agreed upon by all parties involved. What is money, folks? If payment is the transfer of money, goods, or services in exchange for goods and services, money is the paper elements. So when you get a credit card, which is a credit device, it relates to the paperwork. Period. Payment is the transfer of the paperwork. Goods or services in exchange for goods or services. So when they transferred that Social Security card to you, that paperwork, they kind of commingled things because that's a form of money, but it's a card that's used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. The paperwork is what's used to obtain the money, goods, or services on credit. Now, the paperwork itself to obtain money would be just other paperwork as the form of money, checks, money orders, Federal Reserve notes. Okay. A payment can be made in the form of services exchanged, cash, check, wire, transfer, credit card, debit card, or cryptocurrencies. So when I got the offer from the post office, one of their documents, a copyright and trademark document, which has a title on it, the title of which was a Rural Money Order Transaction Application. There's a difference between a transaction and a transfer. Payment is the transfer of money, goods, or services. Are those coins goods? Those coins are assets, material goods. In case you didn't know that. So when they took the money or would refuse to take the money so I could make payment in the proper transfer of the goods, so I could use a number from a card so that it could be done on credit, then they're the ones that don't understand the problem. Because that statement of services, payment is the transfer of money, goods, or services. We got the services. We gave goods as an asset along with a number relating to the card, a credit device, wherein the things were supposed to be obtained on credit. Today's monetary system allows for payments to be made with currency. Currency, which has simplified the means of economic transactions, provides a convenient medium through which payments can be made. And it can also be easily stored. That's the electronic record. That's where transactions occur because there's no assets in except the digital data elements. Okay. And that's what's getting transferred. That's where the credit is. Those digital assets have a value. Before the widespread, and that value is known as blockchaining. Blockchaining your data elements so they go back to the original point of origin, where the data elements are stored, period. Before the widespread use of currency and other payment methods, barter payments were used in which one product or service was exchanged for another. For example, if an egg farmer with a large surplus of eggs wanted milk, the farmer would need to find a dairy farmer who would be willing to take the eggs as payment for milk. In this case, if a suitable dairy farmer weren't found in time, not only would the egg farmer not get the milk, but the eggs would spoil. Eggs in their natural balance of life do not spoil for about 90 days unless you wash them, and that's part of the problem. They want to wash the eggs, and that opens up all the pores that are not supposed to be open and allows air into the egg. Currency, on the other hand, maintains its value over time. Maintains its value over time. There's no decrease or increase. There's no inflation or deflation. You get it? However, bartering is still practiced today when companies want to exchange services between one another. And that's what I'm telling you I've been doing. For the last 7 years, I've been bartering trading. Payments can be the transfer of anything of value or benefit to the parties. Payments can be the transfer of anything of value. The transfer of credits. Now, if I've established insurance credits through Social Security and I offer them the number on the back of that card to directly route those credits, why are they not accepting those credits? Oh, no. You can't pay by credit. Wait a minute. A payment can be made in the form of services exchanged for cash, check, wire transfer, credit card, debit card, or cryptocurrencies. Yet the post office won't accept payments. Won't accept anything for payments except cash or debit card. Cash or debit card. Now, a payment can be made in the form of services exchanged, cash, check, wire transfer, credit card, debit card, or cryptocurrencies. Those would all be of like kind. They're considered an equivalent of money. Yep. An equivalent of money. However, bartering is still practiced. Let's see. Payments can be the transfer of anything of value. Not the transaction, but the transfer of anything of value or benefit to the parties. To the parties. An invoice or bill typically precedes a payment. Now, what I got was a statement of services, which is an invoice, because it did not state on it that it was a bill. Payees usually get to choose how they will accept payment. However, some laws require the payer to accept the country's legal tender up to a prescribed limit. So as I said on that form 6387, it tells us there's a prescribed limit for $1.10, 0.01 up to $500.00 on credit. $1.50 will get you $500.01 up to $1,000 on credit. That's my theory. Payment in another currency often involves additional foreign exchange transaction fees. Additional foreign exchange transaction fee. So on that form, the transaction fee is the $1.10 in foreign coin, because that's not money, product, or goods or services as they deem it. It's coin of the realm. They don't see it as a product, when in fact it is. It's an asset. A good becomes an asset when you buy it. When you buy the goods off of that store shelf, it becomes an asset. Therefore, the money that's in your pocket, particularly coin, is an asset. It is a good. Usually around 2 to 3% of the total payment being made. 2 to 3%. Usually around 2 to 3% of the total payment being made. So they want both cash and debit, because credit is an equivalent of money, but they're refusing credit and demanding debit. Now, if they demand debit, that's a debt against the United States. If they demand credit, it's against the United States. All obligations and other securities of the United States, when it comes to legal tender, are to set off for the public or private debts. Notice that Federal Reserve note that they say is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Well, a debt is a credit somewhere else, just like a credit is a debit somewhere else. As I'm an obligee to another who is an obligor, he too is an obligee to me, who in that sense is an obligor. So we play both parts. When you extend credit, you create a debt. Therefore, you are a debtor as well in that situation. Same thing if you ask somebody for credit. You become a creditor. But could be quite a bit higher depending on the bank or card issuer and country of purchase. So the $1.10, 2 to 3%. For up to $500, that's a lot less. But it depends on how much you want to make that money order out for. So it creates a variable that could be a lot less than 2 to 3% or a lot more than 2 to 3%. Types of payment. Payments are made using various methods. Throughout history, these types of payments have changed and evolved. See, when there was a time where you only had coin, there was no other type of payment. And then because the asset, the coin, was too heavy to travel from country to country, if you wanted to move and have to take your whole estate, you would leave the assets behind, create a paper document in a foreign exchange agreement with another country, so that when you arrived there, you could pull out those assets from that country in the exchange. It's a peace agreement. It's a dowry. And new payment methods are likely to appear in the future, like we saw credit and now cryptocurrency. But they're still of like kind. They're payments. They're ways to make payments. That's it. Here are the most common types of payments used today. Credit cards are widely used for purchases and payments. Credit cards work by offering its user a line of where an individual can draw credit up to a certain limit. where an individual can draw credit up to a certain limit, the limit as stated for that fee. When you attempt to use your credit card, your account information is sent to the merchant bank. The merchant bank then receives authorization from the credit card network to process the transaction. Post office is refusing payment as an international money changer. Oops. They're demanding that I use a debit instrument, which is the like kind of a credit instrument, because they're all credit devices. A debit card is a credit device. A credit card is a debit device. And a credit card defines any paper product or whatever it said there for on credit to obtain money, labor, goods, or services. So are you supposed to be paying with money? Of course. It's a form of payment. Can you pay with your labor? Of course. It's a form of payment. So the credit card definition, which includes a license plate, it's a plate, card, plate, or other instant credit device. Many businesses accept credit cards. By the way, that plate, that's a credit device. How come the post office doesn't have a credit device like that? Huh? Real estate investment trust is their credit device. Though many that accept cards charge a fee from the merchant that provides the machine and payments infrastructure, as well as their financial institution. Though many businesses accept credit cards, though many that accept cards charge a fee from the merchant that provides the machine and payments. So I provided the card, not the machine and the payment infrastructure. That would be somebody else. Who do you suppose that is? The merchant that provides the machine and payments infrastructure. That's the United States. That's the corporate merchant that has its reserve banks that are issuing Federal Reserve notes. And they're the ones that the fees go to for that promise, as well as their financial institutions, the Federal Reserve banks. This fee is often a percentage of the transaction amount and or a flat fee for each payment. So as I said, that fee on the Postal Service, on that rural money order transaction application, could vary from a lot less than 1% to a lot more than 2 to 3%. So it gives a flat fee and you adjust your payments. Credit cards. Pros help an individual build a credit history. You already have a credit history. All credence goes to him. Used to make more major purchases in the future. Reduce risk as it is easier to carry a single plastic card as opposed to cash. See, it was easier to carry cash than it was to carry all the gold and assets. So you would convert all your gold and assets to money, paperwork, and then go to the next country and exchange that paperwork back in for those assets. Now we have plastic cards, and now we have cryptocurrencies. Reduce risk as it is easier to produce revenue, because you've gone out of your exclusive jurisdiction of making your yay, and your nay, and subjected yourself to their system as a resident or a United States citizen. That's the revenue. Opportunities through rewards and airline miles. Why would it be airline miles? They used to not have an air jurisdiction. You know, back before the planes, it was just land and sea. Now they've got an air jurisdiction. So now you can get credit for air miles, which you would have to pay for in money, which would be a payment. Delay when an individual actually needs to use personal capital to pay for something. That would be the assets. Assets are personal capital. Cons: create the potential to overextend credit and incur unpayable debt. Incur bankruptcy. So if you got a credit card or debit card or a Social Security card, are you in the bankruptcy? You're extending credit from yourself. You're not the one bankrupt, are you? It's only until you forget how to make payments. Charge processing fees by many merchants, making a purchase more expensive than other methods. Charge high interest rate, 15 to 25% on unpaid balances. So if you're using a credit card and it's to get things on credit because you're the one extending the credit, then why are you getting paid or getting charged percentages for unpaid balances? Wasn't the extension of credit the payment? Huh? Wasn't that credit card the payment? Didn't that pay it? Do you understand what's going on, folks? Impact a credit report negatively when too many cards are opened. Why would you need more than one? You know what I mean? Debit cards may look similar to credit cards, but their underlying mechanism is entirely different. Greetings, Chris. How's it going tonight?
Hey, yeah, I'm back tonight on a different device. Tuning in while I'm working on my workshop here.
Awesome.
I'm just adjusting everything. Very interesting rhetoric. I just spent with my partner Danny 5 hours on the phone dealing with Capital One Bank. Very interesting stuff. We learned a lot dealing with them, and they ended up escalating us to the president, the office of the president.
Progress.
Yeah, and basically it was suggested to us that we make a private letter to a certain particular address that they disclosed to us, so that we can so that we can make an offer to the president to make a correspondence with the indentured trustee about the forms of payment that they are able to accept.
I'm sorry?
Because well, you know, on the public side, they're only able to accept certain payments according to policy.
Right.
But when it comes to the trustee, the indentured trustee for Capital One, he can elect to take accept another form of payment, but we have to correspond through the president's office to get him to create a correspondence with the trustee to get the get the issue settled.
Yep, and that's what we're dealing with the post office. They're blocking my private letter. The post office themselves is blocking my private letter to the Board of Governors and the Office of Inspector General to do such a thing.
Right. Well, it appears that they have some obligation to protect the information of these trustees so that they can't just easily be contacted.
Oh,
anytime
it's public information.
Well, anytime that we've dealt with Capital One and their what they call Department of Estate, which is the back office. What was I trying to say? No, anyway, my thoughts just got lost. And go ahead with what you were talking about.
All right. Well, we'll go back to it with the debit card then, folks.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's for another conversation. But I wanted to, tell you we had some progress, and them telling us that we were able to write a letter to the president's office privately in order to get correspondence through the indentured trustee for the bank to get the thing settled.
Yep,
with a form of payment that they can't accept publicly. And that seemed like a good bit of progress on what we're working with.
Yeah, that's what I had to do with PayPal, as I had to get to the back office. I didn't have to write them a private letter, though, because they're just a holding company. So I was able to enforce it just in the language in the private communications on the phone. And we finally got things resolved there. But when it comes to the post office, they're reneging to allow me to send my documents to the people that I'm supposed to, by saying that they have that I have to send it domestic, when that's not the case. I have an international account. I'm an international customer, and that's a service that they're denying again. And I don't know why they're doing that, but it's certainly because of their incompetence, for one.
How about if you sent something to them classified? I heard that that's an option, to send something classified to an indentured trustee to get him to custodian an account in a certain particular manner. But I've never used it, and I'm not suggesting it, but someone told me that classified mail has a different distinction than anything else.
And like I said, you don't have to go through the president to get a hold of the trustee. The trustee is in the SEC filings under their trust indenture document. It's public information. They'll give you address and phone number. So anyway, back to this.
But what the bank was telling us today is that they prefer we approach the trustee through the president, and then he can supposedly fiddle with the private side, where anybody under him has no capacity to even deal with anything other than what's business as usual for them.
Yep. All right. Debit cards may look similar to credit cards, but their underlying mechanism is entirely different. When a debit card is used, funds are immediately withdrawn from an individual's account. That's why they're insisting on a debit, because they want the funds to be immediately withdrawn from the account, instead of having a line of credit that you can pull from in excess of what you have saved. Again, the Social Security account, when you make payments into that, those they establish your yearly insurance credits by quarter. So you have, if you've worked and used that Social Security number, gain credits. Debit, and just having the card itself, by the definition of the law, says it's a credit device to obtain those things on credit. So you wouldn't have been given it unless there was already credit there somewhere. Debit card transactions can be declined if you do not have enough money in your account.
Were we not supposed to do an acceptance and acknowledgement of that Social Security card once it was attained, as well as the passport and all the other
No,
State Department documents. There's
no, no.
not supposed to be like.
The record was entered in error. We're not supposed to be doing any of it.
Yeah. Well, I concur with that, but I'm saying like, if it was not, and we had received those things, then there should be an acceptance and acknowledgement so that they know that you, are agreeing to be that principal surety.
Correct. But that's only if you were a federal, state, or municipal officer or agent, which you are not. And that's the problem with it. They placate in the record, on the record, for the record, that you are in fact a resident when you are born through the enumeration at birth, and that's an impossibility.
Well, there's no cognition in the child's mind to have any ability to even think about consenting.
Correct. Debit cards share many advantages as credit cards, as a small piece of plastic is easy to carry, widely accepted by many merchants, and has varying levels of fraud protection. Varying levels. So depending on how much they want to insure you will depend upon the level of fraud protection. Really? I suggest that the electronic system has its own cybersecurity system, and if there's any fraud protection, it's because somebody along that line is mishandling that dollar. However, debit cards often have less promotional opportunities and may result in processing fees if you accidentally attempt to overdraw your account.
Accidentally?
Yeah. What if you do it on purpose, huh? Pros.
Yeah.
Help individuals transact easier through ATM withdrawals or purchases, as many major companies typically don't have annual fees or transaction costs as long as you have money in your account. Discourages excess spending by only allowing spending up to account balance. Doesn't charge interest since all payments are facilitated using the spender's money. The cons. Often has limited fraud protection up to certain dollar amounts or periods of time or time periods. Limit your spending capabilities to your account balance, not allowing for higher amounts of spending for emergency or high need situations because you have credit. Right? That's what the credit score is about. They're saying you have credit. Charge overdraft fees through some banks when you attempt to withdraw more funds than available in your account. And it doesn't build your credit score as no credit is used. Excuse me. But it's a card. It's a device. It's a credit device upon which obtaining money, property, goods, or money, property, labor, and services is on credit. So how come it doesn't build your credit? The paperwork.
I think the credit has to do with whether we're in the thing called correct use of those accounts or not, because the Social Security Administration claims that improper use leads to fees, fines, and taxes and imprisonment associated with improper use.
And that's what they're doing, is they're charging you fees for improper use. Okay, the debit card. Anytime you use that, it creates a debit against the United States.
And if we use it as per 12 USC 411, does it create a debt against the United States?
That's as it relates to the Federal Reserve notes. And they're saying Federal Reserve notes are cash.
Those floating rate notes are warrants and receipts.
Yep. And that receipt, whether you use cash or debit, it's going to come out as a debit against the United States. The cash is a receipt. That's a debit against the United States. So I don't care if you're using a credit card, debit card, or cash. a check, money order. It creates a receipt, which is a debit against the United States.
So what, I mean, if I'm saying that my intent is to utilize this floating rate note as per 12 USC 411, and I let the auditor accountants down at the IRS know that that's my position, should not everything then adjust so that we're not under trading of the Enemy Act, enemy of the state, and all that?
Correct. And we're going to be going over that.
Okay.
Cash is still used for many businesses, such as the retail industry. Coffee shops, convenience stores, for example, still accept cash payments. Considering the fees associated with debit and credit cards, many retail businesses prefer cash payments from their customers. Cash has its own disadvantages, as it can be lost, stolen, or destroyed. Like that's an excuse to get a credit card that can be lost, stolen, or destroyed, or a debit card that can be lost, stolen, or destroyed, or check that can be lost, stolen, or destroyed, or a money order that can be lost, stolen, or destroyed. That's just fucking stupid.
Well, are not those statements that they're sending folks in the mail, those administrative corporate offers, isn't that equal to like a cashier giving you a receipt after a transaction has occurred when they're sending thus the statement or the invoice because they've already used the power of attorney to remit the coupon with?
Yes.
That's what I think is happening too. So they're sending us a receipt, which is defined as cash, and then we're not ledgering that properly under the accrual system of accounting, nor the cash system of accounting using our IRS form filings.
Well, you're not supposed to be doing IRS either. Again, I don't know where you're learning this stuff from, brother, but you're not supposed to be touching that stuff.
Well, no, I have not qualified myself to be a custodian over those accounts, but I'm simply expressing that my understanding is there's a accrual method of accounting and cash method of accounting. Well, if they're sending us the receipt, which is defined as cash, then we're not completing the transaction as far as ledgering the account, and the books are having a properly qualified custodian, accomplish that on our behalf.
Correct. And now we'll go on. It says business dealings in large transactions must often incur additional expenses to pay for related security measures such as secured transit or fraud detection. You see that?
Yep.
Remember we talked about freedom of transit is guaranteed throughout the entire territory of the Union. Now here we're seeing how the transit is in the electronic system.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Secured transit is the transfer or transaction of moving credits from one point to another in the electronic system. And of course, it's got its pros and cons.
So everything is involved in transportation.
Correct. Mobile phones, folks. Remember we talked about cryptocurrencies as a new method of payment. Did you know your mobile phones are a credit device? Contactless.
Somebody should have given us disclosure about that.
Well, no, you have to express it in the terms. Cryptocurrencies is what? Credit by electronic transit. Does a phone provide electronic transit? Is an electronic
and then there's currency going through the phone, like on my 5 hours call.
Is a electronic transit secured? Secured transit or fraud detection. It's telling you it's either a secured transit or it's transiting in fraud, and they detect it. So a contactless payment is a new form of payment. Why? Because the data elements that you can put in it that give you credence of being an honorable man.
Uh-huh.
that has emerged in recent years has made payments easier than ever. The credit or debit card machine, called the point of sale terminal. Your phone is a point of sale terminal. Your laptop is a point of sale terminal. Therefore, it's quid quo pro equal consideration.
So the phone number is an account number then?
Yes, it's an international account number.
Uh-huh.
Same with when you create your own website, you now have an international account number. Then when
And so when I bought the phone, did I buy into the license for that? The fair use of that?
You bought into the insurance. Again, everything you bought is an insurance scheme.
Is that a 18 USC 1341 thing? Scheme, scams, frauds?
Yes. It's also false record.
And then I agreed to participate in a double taxation scheme by accepting the offers coming from the organization.
Certain deceptive forms. I can't remember what code it is, but it's certain deceptive forms is the title.
Thank you. I'll take the note on that.
Can read the customer's banking information through the software application that's installed on the mobile device. So when I open the enterprise payment system account as an international customer with the trust, and I use the international email number and the international phone number, guess what? Thrice we have international venue. Online enterprise payment system, online communication system, online voice communication. Okay. Once the phone reads the information from the point of sale terminal, a signal is generated to inform the customer that the payment has been made. That tells you that if you make a payment on your laptop and you hear your phone ding, it tells you you've got your equipment synced. Okay.
Yeah.
For mobile payments to work, the payer must have a higher end mobile device with near field communication capability, Wi-Fi. The user needs to set up their mobile wallet to contain their existing card information. The bank that issued your credit card often has to approve the new payment platform. It's just a new form, and it's got a different plot to it. A plot. And the payee must have capability to accept mobile payment. Now, if the United States Postal Service can't accept mobile payment, then how do they accept credit? How do they accept debit? If they can't accept a mobile payment, which is a secured transit payment. See where I'm going, folks? Every last one of those accounts is connected. And those are general jurisdictions as opposed to exclusive jurisdiction that we each have. And they pose exclusive jurisdiction as if though they can be one, which they can't. What they're saying for exclusive jurisdiction is one jurisdiction. And that's the judicial jurisdiction. And you can't be involved in the general jurisdiction unless you pass the exclusive jurisdiction. The problem is everybody's trapped in the general jurisdictions as if though they did pass through the exclusive jurisdiction. And they didn't. The secured transit that started out as an informant investigation is false. It was improperly secured in transit, and the security needs to be released back to the interested parties. United States as carrying the interest of the obligation and the interest of the principle of who it's defeating in life. Checks have fallen out of favor over the years, due to advancements in technology allowing payments to be electronically submitted. However, there are instances when checks might be helpful, such as when the seller wants a guaranteed payment. Excuse me, electronic funds transfers are guaranteed. That's the security certificates. If it doesn't come through and the seller doesn't get his payment, it wasn't because the payment wasn't guaranteed. It's because somebody committed fraud on him. A bank cashier's check or a certified check are two types of checks that banks offer to help sellers receive money owed from the buyer. So if they offer them, they have to accept them in return.
Exactly. That's part of what we had offered today was a cashier's check from the bank once they prove their position.
And if the bank is offering credit cards and debit cards, they have to accept them in return. If the post office is the international money changer that allows that, then they have to accept it as well. Checks are linked to a payer's bank account. Each check contains your bank's routing number, a 9-digit code to identify financial institution, as well as your account number. When a check is written, the payee deposits the check, sending the transaction to a clearing unit. A clearing unit, as opposed to a postal unit. Did it clear customs? The clearing unit makes the appropriate changes to each party's account. This is the appropriations that we talked about the other night in regards to the trust. The misappropriation of those funds by the post office is inexcusable. Electronic funds transfers and ACH, automatic clearinghouse, are typically used for larger or more frequent payments in which a check or credit card would be inappropriate or wouldn't be appropriate. A payment from a manufacturer to a supplier, for example, it would typically be done via a wire transfer, particularly if it was an international payment. An ACH payment is often used for direct deposits of payroll for a company's employees. Though both are transfers of electronic funds, ACHs and wire transfers are different. ACHs only work domestically.
Not internationally.
Correct. And often take one or more business days to fully process. Wires are most often processed same day, but have location limitations. In other words, you can't send $5,000 to a location that doesn't have $5,000. Okay. In addition, ACHs can often be reversed, while wire payments are permanent once the transaction is initiated. That means it is secured in transaction and it goes through immediately. This is what they're preventing me. Now time. They're telling me I have to wait, and God damn it, if I'm domestic, they're going to make me wait even longer because I'm not going to send it domestic. Oh, yeah, you are. You're making a legal determination then, huh? No, it's domestic. It's going to Washington, D.C., and that's a legal determination. Can you tell me where the United States is? We're here in the United States now. Really, the United States is located in Washington, D.C. You really know what you're talking about? 911, I got a sovereign citizen. Bastards. Electronic funds transfers may help payees receive funds faster than other methods. Can be set up as an automatic payment for recurring transactions. So, if they are using electronic funds transfer through your billing system, you know, when you pay that bill, it's automatically taken out of your account. Is that an international or is that domestic? Is that recognition that you are in an international venue?
Can you repeat that, Keith? That was a little garbled.
May help payees receive funds faster than other methods. Can be set up as an automatic payment for reoccurring transactions. If there's a reoccurring transaction and you're making automatic payments for it, that's a wire transfer. Electronic funds transfer, transferred by wire. That's an international venue. How are they claiming it domestic? You see the impossibility, folks? You cannot possibly be domestic. They are perpetrating a fraud upon you because you don't know the language. Allow for investigation and dispute for fraudulent transactions. Now, while I'm trying to inform the Office of Inspector General and the Bureau of Governors or Board of Governors, they're not allowing it. They are obstructing it and making false reports. That's 20 years per person per incident. And what do when I tell them this? They call the police and say, hey, I got a sovereign citizen down here. Cryptocurrency, digital currency, or tokens are a more modern approach to facilitating transactions. The premise is simple. One person in possession of digital currency can send coins or tokens to an address on a blockchain. Blockchains with smart contract capabilities can interject logic to automatically withdraw or transfer specific amounts based on underlying conditions. Remember the underlying conditions earlier? Yeah. The widespread use of cryptocurrency is still in its infancy stage, especially when compared with other payment systems above. However, cryptocurrency has the advantage in only needing an internet connection to facilitate a payment. As long as both parties have a digital wallet on the same network, payments can be made. Cryptocurrencies do not require use of a bank account. Facilitation only requires an internet connection. Can easily accommodate a payee's preferred digital currency by swapping coins, tokens in a centralized or decentralized exchange. May result in very fast payment processing. Cons: does not have stable value and may result in loss of capital. Therefore, it's not quite the same as credit, which maintains its value. Require moderate technical understanding of how to send funds. Failure to send correctly may result in loss of funds. They end up literally as little ghost ships in the internet. They just go poof. Not as widely of an accepted means of payment compared to other methods. Special considerations. The payee may choose to compromise on debt with promise, on debt with promise, with future bet. Pro meaning future, mise meaning bet, and con meaning with future bet, compromise on debt and accept partial payment in lieu of full settlement of the obligation. Or it may offer a discount at their discretion. You ever gone to the Federal Reserve discount window? The payee may also impose a surcharge, for example, as in a late payment fee or for the use of a certain credit card. Acceptance of payment by the payee extinguishes a debt or other obligation. A creditor cannot unreasonably refuse to accept a payment, but payment can be refused in some circumstances, such as on a Sunday or outside banking hours. So if you go to the bank and they're open, they really don't have any reason to refuse, particularly if it's in like kind of something they offer. And on that form, they offered a rural money order transaction. So I gave in exchange a rural money order transaction by special direct deposit. A creditor cannot unreasonably, a payee is usually obligated to acknowledge payment by producing a receipt to the payer, which may be regarded as an endorsement on an account as paid in full. Now, I have a receipt here. And you see it says approved, transaction approved, U.S. debit. Nowhere on this receipt does it say paid in full. That was a debit card. This was cash. Nowhere on it does it say paid in full. This was a credit card. Same thing, comes out U.S. debit as debit. Nowhere on it does it say paid in full. So, let's go back to our deal here. Payment, credit terms, and discount. Every company that receives payments must set their payment terms. This payment term dictates when payment is due and whether the company offers a discount for early payment. The most common form of payment term is called the net 30, where payment is due 30 days from the receipt of the invoice. A company may set the number of days to whatever they want. However, these terms must often be agreed to in the contract with the payee. These terms must often be agreed to in the contract with the payee. A company may set the number of days to whatever they want. However, these terms must often be agreed to in the contract with the payee. As you noticed on the offer, there is no net 30. There is no time. It simply says if you want the payment, or if you want the post office to send your payment, then you have to make a self-addressed stamped envelope and give it to the carrier. Otherwise, the carrier will mail it back to you. In addition, a payer may offer a discount, i.e. 1%, if payment is made within a short period of time. The way that document looks to me, the theory I have as I orate the thoughts that go in my head is that that's a conversion of $1.50 in a special deposit, directing them to pay the unpaid balance of money or its equivalent on credit. Here's the card number.
Are you saying it's special because it's international and it's private rather than a general
Correct.
deposit? I just wanted to articulate that understanding for others.
And I specified it specially in species as on credit. Special, specialized, or specific, and species. They're all three the same.
Mm-hmm.
This is written as 110 net 30, and the company may offer that discount if it is urgent they receive cash. This is what the banks do. They do 110 net 30, and then come back with that thing. You got 30 days on that promissory note, but they're getting a discount at the window. Okay. Installment payments. In a very basic transactional contract, a good or service is provided at the same time, immediately preceding or immediately following payment. Consider buying an apple at a grocery store. You must pay before you can take it out of the store. But again, when you walk out that store with a receipt, it in fact says you didn't pay it in full because it does not say paid in full. Consider a haircut. You must pay immediately after the barber styles your hair. Again, you get a receipt saying you didn't pay in full. Full faith and credit. You get it now? See, it's supposed to be full faith and credit. Not money, not credit, not debit, not cryptocurrency, not assets, not property, not trade, not exchange, not labor, not services, not products, not goods, not items. Full faith and credit, as the law states, the letter of the law. For more complex agreements that may require delivery of a good or service to be formed over time, consider a real estate developer that charges 4% fee on a building they are constructing. The agreement for the developer fee may call for quarterly payments to the developer based on the percentage of completion of the building. Does that sound like the quarterly credits as you develop that financial record and haven't completed the payments? Another example may be keeping a lawyer on retainer. Payment must be made on a recurring basis in advance of any services being provided. Advance payments, prepayments. In some contractual situations, one party to the contract may require payment up front before service has been performed or the good has been delivered. More often, for service agreements, the payee that receives payment has an obligation to perform on the contract after payment has been received. That receipt is a payment. It's a credit device. In addition, that payee must follow strict accounting guidance that limits their ability to record revenue until the payment is actually earned. What does payment mean? Payment is the exchange of something of value as part of an agreement. Does the post office have credit? Yeah. Well, I've got credit. Well, no, you don't. Sure, I do. Mine comes from a higher source. You're in this battle of the forms. I'm force majeure or to combat. I'm not in your war. I bring a greater truth. I bring the word of God. What about that credence? What about the spiritual credit? See, this is the merits, and this is a military exchange. And they're not accepting my merits. How dare they? One party makes part payment and receives something else of value, while the other party receives payment in exchange for providing a good or service. The most traditional type of payment was through physical currency, but a majority of payment types now leverage technology, the electronic record. Well, of course they do. 2006 was the Electronic Records Act to help provide a advantage to the Paperwork Reduction Act, so that you could literally enter in your documentation in the electronic form without having to use paper. Now, if you're entering those data elements in the electronic form, does that electronic form take the place of the paper form as for the value that you can place in that paper? Most certainly. And the electronic form already has security certificates and timestamps. Every keystroke. How much is that keystroke valued at? Can you put a value to it? $1 per stroke? What about the spaces? You want to include them spaces in there too, because you had to hit that space bar. What are the main types of payment? Cash, debit cards, credit cards, checks were the main types of payment. Now, more advanced forms of digital payments are becoming more popular. The cryptocurrencies and the phone and the internet. This includes online payment services, digital currencies, and electronic transfers. They're all electronic transfers. Online payment service is an electronic device. Digital currencies go through electronic devices. They are all electronic transfers, secured in transit. How do we know? Because each keystroke has a security certificate, like I said, with a timestamp. What is a bank payment? Is a transfer from one bank account to another. 12 U.S.C. 411. Federal Reserve notes are for the transfer from one bank to another by transfer agents and for no other purpose are allowed. See where they're getting things confused? That bank payment is a transfer and not a transaction. It's a transfer. It is a form of digital payment, which is a transaction. See, this is Babel right here. So even though it's in the financial form and they pose this stuff, it's people like me that will tear apart the language and prove that the transfer is different than the transaction. Because that digital form is a transaction. It is not a transfer. You cannot transfer property through the electronics. Instead of relying on transferring physical currency or writing a paper check, a bank payment can be issued for many reoccurring expenses, i.e. utility bills, or sporadic expenses, i.e. grocery bills. What is the best form of payment? There is no single best form of payment. Excuse me. I suggest you learn how to coin your words or purse your lips according to the merits of your spiritual credit. The bottom line, the world has always entered into agreements where one party pays another. The idea of trading contracts will never go away, but the form in which payment is made has and will change forever. If the payment and the way it's made has and will change forever, so will your language. As we see, it too has changed and will forever. Today, instead of trading for cash, there are many different ways to make payment that rely on the internet, technology, or digital forms. Okay. I was hoping we get through more than that, but that was a little bit of reading. But I hope you guys comprehend that the electronic forum is already guaranteed. It's secured. And there's freedom of transit is guaranteed throughout the entire territory of the Union. Each keystroke, when you press numbered keys or other identifiers, are securitized in that system. They have security certificates attached with a timestamp. Learn how to put value to them. Your value. That's your credit. As long as you can express the spirituality of your transactions and your transfers by your communications with other people and this stuff, the better you're going to be off. So anybody got anything to say before we head out? I first want to say thanks for everybody that joined today. JLV exhibited meat. Harry Nutt, Norm Longstaff. Brother, I talked to Matt Wisniewski last night. I didn't realize he was up there with you. Him and I used to work together. So good thing there. You guys keep working together up there. Roz Blackwood, Wobbly Boost. Anybody else? Five Hut, Laura. Greetings. Thankful for everybody for joining me. Again, like I said, hit that PayPal button. Share some love. I appreciate all the help. Hit that share, like, and subscribe button. Get this stuff out there. And anybody got anything to say, Chris or Russ there?
I guess I change out my device. I'll check in with you later on.
All right, progress. Sounds good. Good. I want to let you know I appreciate you doing what you're doing too, brother. Keep going at it and let us know. Keep us up to date on it. And what else? What you got, Russ?
Not much tonight. I just kind of wrapped up in my head with that old meeting tonight, and I think I'm going to prepare myself a little bit better for the next time, and I'm going for the juggler the next time.
Yep. I got a call in today to the dispatch center downtown to have the acting postmaster call me because I'm quite pissed as an international customer with an international trust account was denied international services and then promptly called the police department and called me a sovereign citizen. And I'd like to speak to Michael DeWell immediately. If I don't hear from him tomorrow, I'm going to call the international service request and enter my international claim. I'm tired of this shit. So
hopefully they'll call you back. I couldn't get them to call me back down here.
Well, he better call me back because, like I said, that's a 20-year sentence. You're obstructing me. You're obstructing me from communicating with the upline as an international account holder, and you're not providing. You're saying you're going to do it through domestic mail, and I said no. I want the international mail with a insurance bond, and they refused. So we'll see how that works out for them. So anyway,
I went back and I was watching that video with them guys when I got done talking. They were kind of stunned.
Yeah.
Especially the ladies.
Yeah, same with this guy. I handed him a few sheets of paper with some of the codes that I was working with and asked him to research them and apprise himself of what I was doing and that I'm doing it in peace. I don't want any troubles. But you people keep giving me problems.
Yeah.
So about that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Dominic and Rodney. Greetings, newcomers to the show tonight, or just tuning in, I guess. We're just finishing up, but go ahead and review the information. It's great information on the payment and how it's done. Tomorrow I'll be back with payment in kind, and we'll go over that, and hopefully people get my review of that payment term and can comprehend how it's all a general payment system and they're not allowing you to make your exclusive payment by your merits, superseding their domestic bullshit. So think about this, and remember, folks, I love you, but you know I don't give a fuck whether you love me back. So God bless, have a great night, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.
Peace. Much love.